Sorry about that, babe.
What's up, guys? It's Cody aka the Bear here, Bits and Glory, and I wanted to start doing some more, I guess, kind of off-the-cuff videos once in a while, more of a vloggy, person-to-person type of experience instead of just, you know, my playthroughs, my challenge runs, unboxings, reviews, pickups, and all that kind of stuff. So, one thing that I wanted to talk about for this video is why is retro gaming special to me, and then obviously I want you guys to let me know why retro gaming is special to you down below in the comments. But I've had this question asked of me, you know, in regards to why do you play older games over newer games so much, so on and so forth, and it's kind of multi-layered, but it's not that complex at the same time, so I just wanted to get into it a little bit. So, I love retro gaming. I would say the main reason, if I'm being honest, is the nostalgia factor. Whether I had it or played it as a kid, or whether it's something that I wanted as a kid but I couldn't get my hands on, or something that my friends had. Just so many different games and consoles, and I guess companies even, like Squaresoft for example, they bring me back, they fill me with joy, they make me feel like I was a kid again. And you know, the older and older that you get, you know, obviously you have a life, you know, some people have like a wife and kids, or you know, a husband and kids, or you know, your job, you know, you work full-time, you got after school activities, you got to go to the gym. There's so much crap going on all the time, and it's like sometimes you just want, not necessarily an escape, but you want to get that feeling back when you were a kid, when things were more carefree, right? And for me, retro gaming does that. Especially, like I said, the games that I had as a kid that I wanted, or that my friends had, and specifically my friends Kyle and Sean, who were my best friends growing up and I did a lot of gaming with. You know, tons of games bring me back to that feeling, and I'm most nostalgic for the SNES, the Sega Genesis, and the Game Boy in particular. I'm not quite as nostalgic for the NES because none of my friends had those systems. I had one or two over the course of growing up, but they were like, my parents got them at the Salvation Army, and they would let me like mess around with them for a little bit, and then they would sell them, and this was obviously before, you know, these things got actually like very collectible, right? But most nostalgia I have is for the 16-bit era for sure, as well as Game Boy. And the games that fill me with the most nostalgia are typically RPGs, Shining Force 1 and 2, Final Fantasy 3 on the SNES, aka 6, Final Fantasy 2 on the SNES, aka 4, Chrono Trigger, some others, and obviously Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow. I think Pokemon Red was probably the first game that I ever actually beat. Might have been Super Mario World, I can't remember, but like a lot of the games that I had on the Genesis as a kid growing up, like Altered Beast, I wasn't able to beat it. Toe Jam and Earl, I never made it to the end, so on and so forth. So yeah, I remember like with Pokemon Red, that was the one that I got because my neighbor got Blue, so obviously we wanted to get the different games, right? Pokemon Red, I beat it on Super Game Boy. I didn't actually own a Game Boy back then. I only had a Super Game Boy, so I played it on my Super Nintendo. I would lug my Super Nintendo over to my friends' houses for the weekend. I like many friends. I remember taking it over to many different places, and I beat it numerous times, and I'd show off my Pokedex, and I remember at one point I did get Game Shark, haha, everybody's gonna make a joke from the Discord, but I got it so I can get Mew, because at the time the only way to get Mew was, I think, through some sort of, well, obviously you could do the glitch, which everybody knows about now with the Gold Nugget Bridge or whatever, but back then I think the only way you can get Mew legitimately was through a promotion. So I got the Game Shark so I can get Mew, and it was really cool to like, you know, get like 99 rare candies and stuff like that. And I would just like show off to various friends, you know how it is. But that's definitely like my most nostalgic era. But then dipping into PS1, I got the PS1 around the same time that I got the N64. My N64 actually got stolen from me. My neighbor's cousin borrowed it and I never got it back. But that's fine because to this day, to be honest with you, N64 is one of my least favorite consoles. I don't think it's that good. PS1 was way better anyway. So I have much more nostalgia for the PS1. When I got it, it was on Craigslist, and it's a funny story. When I got it, It was from an ad that we didn't know who posted it at the time. It was posted by the son of one of my mom's employees. She owned a flower shop, and it was just like, wow, small world, right? So I ended up buying a PS1 with like controllers and hookups, and it came with Resident Evil. So Resident Evil was my first PlayStation game, and that's when I fell in love with the survival horror video game genre and the franchise of Resident Evil itself. But I also have like heavy nostalgia for obviously Resident Evil 2, Dino Crisis, Resident Evil 3, and most importantly, Final Fantasy 7. I played the crap out of that game as a kid. I definitely used Game Shark on that as well, because I wanted like infinite limit breaks. I remember I took down Emerald Weapon with that. I've never actually like legitimately beaten Final Fantasy 7 because I haven't played it since I was a kid, and like I said back then, I was either watching my friend play, I saw him beat it, and then on my playthrough I was, you know, doing infinite limit breaks and stuff. I was obsessed with like cheat codes as a kid. It wasn't until probably like high school where I literally put a stop on like cheating stupid. Like even if it's like making stupid stuff with like, you know, big heads and stuff like that, I don't like anything to do with cheat codes or Game Shark or Game Genie anymore, but back then, loved it. Which, by the way, stay tuned, FF7 will be done sometime this year, 2023. But yeah, nostalgia is the biggest thing, and probably the second biggest thing, and these are really only the two things that draw me into retro gaming as much as they do, because I do still play some newer games. I love the From Software games, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, Sekiro. You know, the remakes of like Resident Evil 2 were good, Resident Evil 7's good, Village was okay. I didn't like Callisto Protocol. I like Neo. I'm just thinking of different games that are newer that I played over the last few years. Excited for the Dead Space remake. Granted, it's a remake of a game that is older now. But besides that, it's just a lot of these games nowadays, unless you crank the difficulty, that's part of the reason why I like the From Software games so much. I like the challenge of the old games. Yes, a lot of RPGs don't have much challenge. They're either easy, Final Fantasy 3, Chrono Trigger come to mind, or it's as simple as you have to grind. For example, Lufia, like there's level caps to learn spells. All you have to do is just grind, and then it's easy. But I love, like, you know, old school platformers like the Castlevania games, Contra, Metal Storm. I'm just looking around my wall here. You know, F-Zero on the Master League. Stuff like that. I love the challenge, and the only way that I find that challenge these days is with the From Software games, and then I do extra restrictions like I can't level up, I can't use magic, I can't use pyromancy. You know what I mean? Some games these days are obviously, they are difficult, like the aforementioned Callisto Protocol. I played it on the hard mode before I just got bored of it. I got literally 80% way through the game and I just gave up. I was so sick of it, but that was challenging on the hard difficulty. But the old games just have a much more rewarding experience. I feel very accomplished. I love doing my no-death runs of those games, or even just beating the games. And I feel like a lot of the games these days are just, they're too easy on the normal mode. Obviously, like I said, you can crank the difficulty, but I'm talking about the normal modes. Like, even thinking back to Dead Space, which I just mentioned with the remake. Dead Space on normal mode is pretty easy. The last boss is like a joke. Like whatever happened to the days of the very epic last bosses. You know, other than From Software. And, last boss in Neo is kind of hard, I guess. But other than, like, developers like that, I don't know. So, for me, I love retro gaming because it's a huge wave of nostalgia, and I could admit that. That's the #1 driving force. Number 2 is I just love the simplicity, the challenge. A lot of these games can be completed very quickly. I love the grand adventures of the RPGs. They just fill me with so much joy. And I'm not hating on modern gaming, because there are a lot of games that I do like. I'm looking forward to a lot of the, the remakes of Resident Evil 4 and Alone in the Dark and all the Silent Hill games that are going to be coming out. I might play that Hogwarts Legacy game, the Harry Potter one. I'm not anti-new gaming, I just think retro gaming's better. And those are the reasons why. So, I want you guys to let me know, why do you love retro gaming? Is it nostalgia? Is it the difficulty? Is it maybe you like the easier games? Is it like you like the art styles, the music? Like, obviously I like all that stuff too, but for me it was the nostalgia and the difficulties. Those are the two things that get me the most with retro gaming. So, let me know in the comments below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this type of video. If you did, I might try to do some more off-the-cuff ones in the future. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.